Inside of Castle Ravenloft, Strahd is one of the most dangerous villains in Dungeons & Dragons. Today in this video, we're going to take a look at some of the abilities and resources that he brings to the table that make him such a dangerous opponent, and how you can use those to give your players the fight of their lives. First and foremost among Strahd's abilities is his mobility. He is fast and agile, ridiculously so. Using his legendary actions, he can move an additional 90 feet per round. Combine that with his base speed of 30 feet, and he can move 120 feet every single round of combat. To match that, you would have to be using the dash action and haste in combination, but Strahd can do this without breaking a sweat, without any additional buffs. In addition to that, he can use one of his Lair actions to move through the walls, floors, and ceilings of Castle Ravenloft. So not only can he move 120 feet per round, he can do so in any direction with no impedance whatsoever. So if things start to go down in the audience hall of Castle Ravenloft, he can just pop through the wall to the outside of the castle and start climbing up the outside with his spider climb ability and regenerate somewhere safe. This level of mobility means that Strahd does not have to start his turn within melee range of the party, and certainly not within range of the holy symbol of Ravenkind. The holy symbol has a range of 30 feet for its sunlight ability. Combine that with the average dash speed of 60 feet, and you have an effective range of 90 feet. As long as Strahd starts his turn 91 feet away from whoever is holding this glowing holy symbol, he's safe. He can't be put into sunlight. And the fact that he can move through any of the walls and floors and ceilings means that getting 91 feet away is just as simple as going up or down or through a few choice walls. Next up is Strahd's stealth capabilities. He's got a plus 14 bonus to his stealth rolls, meaning that even if he rolls a 1, he still scores a 15, which is probably higher than some of your party's passive perceptions. If he rolls much higher, it's almost guaranteed that he can slink about in the shadows and watch your party completely unseen. Combine this ridiculously high stealth score with his stupidly high mobility, and Strahd can go to and fro without being noticed. He becomes the ultimate hit and run machine. Strahd can easily move into a room ahead of the party and take the hide action, maybe in a shadowy corner somewhere or perhaps up near the ceiling. When the party enters the room on the next round, he can unleash a devastating fireball or some other spell that cannot be countered because the party cannot see him. Now, with this spell unleashed and the party perhaps devastated or just otherwise hurt, Strahd can use his movement to hightail it through the wall or through the ceiling or whatever and get out of harm's way, leaving the party shocked and confused. Before we get on to that next capability, did you know you can get the written version of this guide over on Patreon? That's right, by pledging just as little as $1, you can get this guide and all of the other Lunch Break Heroes guides as beautifully typeset PDFs to download and keep forever. Now that being said, on with the rest of this guide. Next up are his healing capabilities, which are far above any of the vampire spawn that your parties have encountered thus far in the module. He gets 20 hit points back every single round that he's not in sunlight or in running water. And let's face it, if you've been doing your job right, neither of those should be the case. When your party does start getting hits in on Strahd, he's going to make a strategic withdrawal through a wall or through a floor or whatever. He's going to separate himself from the party. All he has to do is put a little bit of distance between himself and this party of adventurers that's assaulting him, and he has plenty of time to regenerate completely. All it takes is 8 rounds. That's 48 seconds. And Strahd is back at full health and ready to go again. Next up on the resources and capabilities list is all of the help that Strahd can bring to bear in the final battle. Strahd has a long list of troops, minions, employees, whatever, that he can bring in to help him crush your party. During combat, Strahd can use his actions to summon a pack of wolves, bats, or rats to help him out. Now these aren't going to trouble your party physically, they're not powerhouses by any means, but they can use the help action to get rid of any disadvantage that he has or to give him advantage on attacks against your party, and that is extremely powerful. In addition to that, he can turn a party's shadows against them or summon the angry ghosts of Ravenloft to fight for him. Both of those are, again, not powerhouses in and of themselves, but they can provide an ample distraction for your party. Shadows, however, are dangerous even against high-level parties because of their strength drain capabilities. If you've got 17 strength, you've basically got 17 hit points when dealing with a shadow. All of these allies rely on Strahd to use his actions to summon them and command them. There are, however, more independent allies within the walls of Castle Ravenloft. Ravenloft is chief among these. He can swoop into battle to aid his master against your party. His Deathly Choir capability is really useful against spellcasters that are concentrating on spells. The choir is just the thing to distract those pesky spellcasters and make them roll for concentration. Next, Ravenloft, you've got the Brides of Strahd, which we cover in our Cast of Ravenloft video. They each bring their own combat archetype, martial, magical, and stealth, that you can use to crush your party. Then again, if you're following this guide, they're probably dead by the time you get to the castle. Lastly, let's not forget about Bucephalus, Strahd's trusty plane-hopping steed. One of the dirtiest tricks that I have ever read about with Strahd comes from Dragna Carta and deals with Bucephalus. His recommendation is to have Bucephalus basically shadow Strahd throughout the final battle. Wherever Strahd goes, Bucephalus goes in the ethereal plane. So whenever Strahd gets into a scrape, maybe he's hurt or he is restrained or otherwise is helpless and on death's door, Bucephalus can hop into the material plane, grab Strahd, and then on the next round, hop into the ethereal plane, giving him a quick getaway. Bucephalus can also bring along 3 vampire spawn to cover their tracks and distract the party for that one round that he has to wait before he can hightail it back to the ethereal. If I were a player, I would hate this and call it cheap, but it is well within the rules. If you want to be down and dirty and freaking ruthless against your party, this is a tactic that you should use. Strahd brings a lot of physical resources and capabilities to a battle, but one of his most dangerous assets is simply his level of preparedness and his knowledge about your party. He has spies all over Barovia that can report back to him on the abilities of your parties, their personalities, temperaments, their actions, all of that. And given the proper materials, he can scry on your party to get a first-hand look at them. Chances are he knows as much about your party as they do themselves. If they can counterspell, Strahd knows about it. Paladin with Divine Smite, Strahd knows about it. They got the holy symbol of Ravenkind, Strahd probably knows about it. Anything that they do, chances are Strahd's pretty much aware of it. This is his game, and your players, they're just pawns. Before the final battle, go ahead and gather up all of your players' character sheets, memorize their abilities, and think about how they've used them in the past. Try to anticipate how they'll use them in the coming battle. This is all knowledge that Strahd would realistically have on the eve of this final battle. In addition to knowing a lot about your party, Strahd knows the layout of Castle Ravenloft like the back of his hand. He's been living there for centuries, after all. He knows where all of the best choke points are. He knows where the traps are that he can lure your party into. He knows which areas give him the best advantage. And this is knowledge that you should have as well before the final battle. The map of Ravenloft is a beast. There is no denying it. It's practically a CR20 monster in and of itself. So take a few days to study this map. Lay it out in front of you and really look at it. Try to draw lines between the various places. Pick a spot in the castle and try to find your way out. Learn it backwards and forwards, not only because you are playing Strahd, the master of his domain, but because knowing the castle is going to help you run a better and smoother session overall. Nothing is going to break the immersion of this final battle like having to break open a book and figure out Which area does this staircase connect to? Is it K34 or K54? I don't know. Let's find out. Hang on, everybody. Let's take a 5-minute break. You don't want to do that. Know the castle like Strahd would. Figure out what goes where and run a smooth session. With all of these capabilities and strategies, and run to his most ruthless extent, Strahd is nearly unbeatable by all but the most prepared of parties. There will probably be a point in your battle where all seems lost for the party. They're running low on health, they're running low on spell slots, all of their resources have been expended, heck, not all of them may be alive. And at that point, you've got a choice to make. Do you crush them under Strahd's boot heel, or do you make a narrative decision to give them a small opportunity to gain the upper hand? There's no wrong answer here in my opinion, although I'm sure I'm going to get a few comments to the contrary. If you want to crush your party, go right ahead. Many fantastic campaigns have ended in utter failure with the entire party being transformed into vampire spawn. But if you do want to give them an out, if you do want to give them that glimmer of hope where they can get the upper hand, all you have to do is let Strahd's ego start making decisions. You see, Strahd's been playing this game a long time. This isn't the first time he's gone up against a band of adventurers in his own home. He's been playing this cat and mouse game for years, and never once has the mouse ever gotten the better of him. This has made him cocky. As he sees the game coming to a close, his ego and his hubris begins to take over. He starts making sloppy decisions like not stealthing around anymore. He begins to trade blows with the barbarians. He stops in the middle of the room to taunt your party while spells fly his way because why not? All of this is going to be over when I kill you in just a minute. But when the party doesn't die, when they begin mouthing off perhaps, he starts to get a little angry. They aren't showing the proper fear and deference to their impending doom. And when you get angry, you start to make more mistakes. Never fight angry, it just ends badly for you, and Strahd is no exception to this rule. Mistake after mistake pile up, and your party begins to gain the upper hand until finally, Strahd is driven into his hiding place. And then, a stake is driven into his heart. After that, well, the real fun begins with Vampire, doesn't it? Stay tuned.